what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Extraordinary Man Podcast. You guys know me by now. If you don't, my name is Phil Jones, aka Mike Jones. However, you know me personally or professionally, I am the host of the Extraordinary Man Podcast. And you guys by now should know one of the greatest men that life has ever produced. If y'all have never met him, shame on you. I don't care if you're in Thailand. I don't care if you're in Germany. You should be reaching out to this man. You should be talking to this man. You should be engaging with this man. You should know who this man is. He's the one that he can put his hands on some unpurified water and turn it purified. He's the one that he can distill the distillery. He does everything. And no, I'm not talking about Jesus Christ. I'm talking about the next best option. State your name.
I am Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
I'm getting better with those intros.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get right into it. So first and foremost, I want to just get right out here with it. And I'm going to be utterly transparent with everybody. And I'm just going to say it the way that I want to say it. I hate my job. Wait a minute, I don't think they heard me in the back. I hate my job. I understand that it don't necessarily translate the absolute best when it comes down to me, especially being in the position of authority that I'm in within my workplace. But I just got to call a spade, and I really have to call it what it is, because on this podcast, we do not shuck, we do not jive, we do not play the game. We talk to men, we talk to women, we talk to people straight. So I'm going to keep it straight with y'all. I hate my job. The reason why I hate my job is because of the fact that my job don't line up with my potential. Who I was destined to be versus who I've allowed myself to be do not necessarily line up. A lot of the decisions that I made as far as what got me to where I am today, some of the motivations have been the same reasons to why I sold myself shorter than what I should have. And I don't blame the people. I don't blame the circumstances. What I do is I identify the situations and I work toward doing better with this newfound information that I have. So what do I hate about my job? Number one, I hate being on somebody else's schedule. Why do I hate being on somebody else's schedule? Well, because of the fact that I don't think that what I need to do requires me to be available 8 hours plus. I think that some days require me to be available 12 hours, and some days require me to be available 4. Personally, I feel like I don't have enough choices, because what if I want to work 10 hours a day, 4 days a week with 3 off days? What happens when I have to sit there and look at the concept of work-life balance? Where's work-life balance? I don't have an option to be able to say, no, I don't want to work today. What happens when your child is in a hospital or they're sick or something is going on? Then you got to call off work. You have to stay in your image. You have to do certain things solely because of the fact that you ever had a situation back when you were working a traditional jobs where you knew you had to call off work because something was going on, and you almost felt that little layer of guilt for calling off work? I've had that on multiple occasions. I've had situations where my asthma has been acting up to where I didn't feel safe driving. And yet I still felt a little bit of guilt right here in my chest. Like, although I don't have the medication, I don't want to spend $50 to $100 to drive to urgent care, which is up the road. So I sit here and I wait it out, try to take my breathing treatment, see what I can do. Give myself time to calm down. And if I can make it, I'll go in late. But I still felt guilty. Still felt dirty about it. And that's one of the things that I don't like about a job, is the fact that they don't necessarily put the pressure on you to feel that way, but sometimes you put the pressure on yourself, especially if you're in a position of leadership.
Yeah, you kind of feel like obligated, like you owe them. You know, you get into that state of mind. I think that there's two hard truths that we as people, the workforce really need to understand. And one of the hard truths is that you need to come to the realization that the importance of what the company wants does not outweigh the importance of what you want. I think that's a harsh reality for a lot of people. Another another harsh reality. I know you were talking about how you hate your job and things of that nature, and I think that until you take yourself seriously, once you get into this state of taking yourself seriously, and you come to grips with your skills, values, and interests, you know, the true essence of who you really are, you're not going to find anything enjoyable or satisfying about work until you do. And I
You,
think that's a real harsh truth that a lot of people have a hard time coming to term with.
I'll up the ante on that a little bit. I'll throw a little sauce on them ribs.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think a job is something that you're supposed to enjoy. I understand there are textbook definitions for the word job and career, and anybody could take me to trial on this. But I'm gonna tell you what my definition of job and career is. A job is something that you do to occupy a slot of your time that you can't give to your family in exchange for money. A career is a long-term commitment to a job in exchange for a long-term commitment to paying bills. Think about
But
it.
long-term commitment to paying bills.
A long-term commitment to paying bills. Because you have to understand something, right? When do you feel most comfortable going to go buy a house? When you got a job that you can hop from here to there, or when you have a stable career or your idea of a stable career to where you know you're going to be here 5, 10, 15 years. You know what you're going to be making. You know what the upward mobility opportunities are. What do you feel most comfortable buying your new cars and having your kids and settling down into a certain location?
Stability.
Stability. What do you feel the most stable at when you're in a career position?
Mm.
So it's a long-term commitment to paying bills. Children are bills. Car notes are bills. House notes are bills.
Yeah.
You get into the home buy phase when you're ready to settle down into something. Unless you're already minded into investment mode, which again, majority of people are not investors. They have been sold the American dream of you go to school, get the career, get the wife, the husband, you get the house, you have the kids, the dog, the cat, whatever have you, insert animal type here, and that's the lifestyle. And you
Mm.
just fill it up with buying stuff throughout.
You just forgot the picket fence.
I mean, it's implied, but again, it's more so of a suburban lifestyle. But I ain't never seen a picket fence in the inner city of Chicago. Maybe they do exist. I just never seen one. I've seen a lot of brownstones with
Chain link
iron
look
fences around them. But again, it's like to your point. There's an ideology about what things are supposed to be, and there's a lot of us that are suffering from extreme levels of depression because we felt like we were supposed to be that by 30. Let me just go ahead and put this out there, right? Somebody would challenge me on this, and I will perfectly accept all the backlash that comes along with these things. The average person lives to about 70 years old.
right?
Current day with modern medicine and everything, you might live to about 70 years old. I'm 37. I'm over middle aged. Where people think middle age is 45, 50, no, I'm over the hill already. That's why at this age, I'm thinking about settling down, chilling, relaxing, cooling out, finding a piece of property. That's because that's what my mind is supposed to be because I'm at the midpoint of my life.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that there's a guaranteed death sentence at 70, but that means that I'm not trying to be working into my 50s trying to play catch up.
You think it's more of like putting things into a more deeper perspective?
Of course.
and really taking, retirements and investments and, anything else, wills. Like it's really time to really start taking it serious.
Well, you become more cognizant of your mortality. And I started to think about it like how I tell people the story about, when my uncle passed away back during COVID. He was 68. At that time, I was 34. And I thought about if the male genes in my family hold to be true, at that point in time, he was the oldest living male that I'm aware of. So at 34, he died at 68. I was at the 50% mark of my life already.
Mm.
So the acknowledgement of the fact that that's when I sat back and said, I need to get an education. I need to earn more money. I need to actually have something tangible that's going to put me in a position to where I can make decisions to where if this don't work over here, I can go over here. Because where I'm at right now, and again, that's another reason why I hate my job, and we're going to get into that into a later segment. You find yourself in these situations where you don't feel like you have options.
I was about to say options. It's all about
All
options.
about options. Because the thing is the fact that if you treat me bad, especially if you feel like because I don't have credentials, I don't have any skills, so to speak, and that I can't just who is it that coined the phrase "f you money"?
Dan Locke.
Because so many of us are living check to check, man. How many of us got "f you money"?
Mhm.
As an independent contractor, if you don't want to take a job, you could just say, "Nah." I was on the phone with you earlier today when you said, like, "Nah, I don't think that's for me. I don't think that's good for me."
Mhm.
Somebody called me and tell me, "Hey, can you come in early today?" I could tell them, "No, I don't want to come in early." That's about as much flexibility as I have because if I'm on the schedule, I got to be there. I'm expected to be there. Now, mind you, I don't have to go. Mind you, yes, I can quit. Yes, I can take another job. But when you sit there and you look at what you make, and then you look at your level of education achieved, and you look at the skill sets that you have, and you look at where you are, and you look at the average pay for your skill sets, where you gonna go? Where you gonna make this kind of money? So in your mind, you start
Yeah,
trapping yourself, thinking to yourself, like, man, I'm in a bind.
because you get to thinking about your tenure, and you get, what I'm saying, you get to think about all these different things. Where who's gonna pay me what I'm making in a
Not even,
different position.
not even just who's gonna pay me what I'm making. You start realizing how leveraged you are in everything that you have. What you pay for housing, what you paying in credit card bills,
Oh
what
yeah,
you paying.
oh,
Because
yeah.
like just in a nutshell, what are
And
you
they
paying?
slide up on you like the ops too.
And what are you paying for maintenance? So as soon as I just like, man, you ain't gonna talk to me like, don't forget you owe $2,200 to that American Express Platinum card, bro. That's the
Hmm.
whole next check. Just
Yeah.
wait it. And in your mind, you telling yourself just wait it out a little bit longer. Just a little bit
And I
longer.
think I think that's another hard truth too. You brought up a good point. Brought up a good point. I think people really got to understand that when you reach a certain plateau, when you reach a certain tax bracket, when you reach a certain pay level, a pay scale, being spoken to a certain way, like it is what it is. Like you up here, this is how it goes. And I think that's another harsh reality that a lot of people just aren't prepared for. This isn't, low level, anybody can do this pay.
There's a lot
You
that
up
comes
here.
along. There's a lot that
There's a
comes
lot
along with
that
that
comes
6 figure
along with
number.
it. Yeah, you need to have thick skin. If you want that big pay, you need to have big pay skin. That's what it is. This is how we talk up here. So I think that's a harsh truth that a lot of people don't realize or know about. That's what it is.
I mean, with all things considered, I look at myself and again, it's like with majority of these podcasts, I use myself as an example because I think there's no better example than being able to use yourself as the archetype that you want people to understand. I don't care about sacrificing myself for the greater good of everybody else. Doesn't bother me at all. Why? Because I lived it. I did it. I made the mistakes. I understand what comes along with those situations. I understand what's at stake. What we have to always take into consideration is the fact that you have to look at your life and say, am I burying myself into a situation? And again, let me make this clear. There's not a situation that you can't get yourself out of under the sun. It's just when you look at the layers and you put it down on paper. I'm gonna say that again for those who are not listening. When you put it down on paper, you look at the layers of how much debt that you have, how much of this you have, how much of this you have, and you have to sit back and say to yourself that I have to pay this off to zero. Then I have
Mm-hmm.
my dog. I got to pay all this down to zero,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to supplement this, which is my fixed cost. What are my fixed costs? My mortgage, my car note, my rent if I'm renting. The things that no matter what I do, those payments don't change. Credit cards, I can pay them off. Car notes are usually far longer investments. You're going to be paying those for a bit of time, and house notes are going to be much larger. You're going to pay those over a period of time. So you have what will be predominantly your fixed costs, and then you have other adjustable costs. So your food budget, you might have to tighten up on your food budget, and depending on what your family size is, tighten up on that food budget might not necessarily be easy. You
Yeah.
know, so you have to sacrifice what your the quality of the food that you're feeding to your kids to save a couple of bucks. Nobody's gonna do that in their right mind. Hey, we're gonna eat raviolios for like 6 months. I'll do it for me. You think I'm gonna feed that to my kids? No, absolutely not.
Right.
Unless that's how y'all give it up, but then it's like no judgment. But with the red dots and all that other stuff like that, I really would prefer not to feed my kids that. Like I'm getting rid of ramen noodles out of my house. I'm getting rid of everything out
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
house.
Man, dude, and dude, I'm a ramen head, man. Like I done perfected recipes, and it's like being on this journey, watching and reading all of these different articles and videos and really starting to understand the body for real and how screwed up ramen is. It broke my heart, but man, it's an adjustment that I have to deal with,
For
and
real.
it's hard.
Like then you think about it, the butter that you added to it, the added cholesterol on top of the salt and all of the
Mhm.
stuff that you make it, your man, I want to make this taste great. So for that phenomenal meal, it's like literally I just ate a bowl of congestive heart failure. But nonetheless, the understanding that there are certain life adjustments that would need to be made in order to buy. The term I use is called buying yourself out of slavery. In my mind, debt is slavery. Because technically debt is indentured servitude. The difference between indentured servitude and what is known as slavery is the fact that slavery had no end date, and indentured servitude had a finite, well, it had a finite amount of time. So if you came over from someplace else and you were obligated to work 7 years in order to earn your land or to earn your right to be over here to do business or whatever the circumstances were, that's what I look at. So when they send you those credit card statements, either via email or in the mail or in your statements in your secured inbox on the websites, what I see is they tell you if you pay the minimum dates or the minimum balances by this date is when you will have everything paid off. In my mind, y'all have gave me a date to when I have officially bought myself out of slavery. That's what y'all told me, is that I bought myself out of indentured servitude the moment that I've gotten myself to a place to where I have paid off what is owed. So you look at every last one of your credit card bills, you look at whatever the last date is for your minimum payment on those bills. And they're telling you right there that you're officially no longer a slave to Capital One Finance Company, or you're no longer a slave to American Express Finance or Discover Finance or Discover Bank or whomever.
Mhm.
Insert here, Barclays,
The list
Goldman
goes.
Sachs, whoever. You are officially out of slavery the moment that you reach this date and you have made the minimum of these payments over said period of time. The choice is how soon you get yourself out of that debt trap that you in. And generally, when people are free of debt, they feel lighter. They feel freer. They're happier. They feel more open. The more compressed you are with debt, I don't know anybody that's bogged down with debt unless they're just somebody that is just not, that does not pay their bills on time, that is happy or content with the way the life is going for them.
Yeah, I think that if we're getting into uh situations where we're having to do like, these title loans and payday loans and things of that nature, where we're voluntarily putting ourselves in debt or in slavery, we really have to start sitting down and recalculating. You know, you hate your job. You're not the only one. I think all of us at one point definitely have come across this type of a feeling. And we need to really start, reevaluating our situations so that we can put ourselves in a better position so that we can get ourselves out of slavery. We should not have to be going to a PLS. I don't even know if they're still around, but PLS and all these title loans and all that. These places, if we can get ourselves into a better financial state, pretty much say goodbye to these sharks. You know, we wouldn't be tempted. We wouldn't have these temptations around because they can't get us because we've gotten better. We put ourselves in a better position with our work, our job. So,
Well, I'm going to say this, and somebody won't agree with me, but it is what it is. A job is not supposed to be liked. You're not supposed to like a job. It is merely there to serve a purpose. It's a means to an end. So when you are searching to try to find satisfaction from a job, is almost the equivalent of saying that I'm going to jump from plantation to plantation until I find a master that beats me less. I want to be someplace to where I'm comfortable. I want to be someplace to where I feel appreciated. You're not appreciated. You're not, because the moment that you're ready to quit, they will replace you with somebody else. The crabs in the barrel mentality is there to where
yeah,
somebody is dying to knock you off your square. And in order to get you off that square, they will do anything that's necessary to get you off of that to attain what they believe that you have.
yeah, and that's why I gave that very first harsh truth that you know the wants of the company is more important than your wants. You know, I totally agree with you that a job is not to be liked. I think that it should be tolerable. It should be tolerable. Do
I,
I dread getting out of bed? Yes, but mm, I'm not completely losing my whole entire mind in here.
well, the thing is, and it's like I'm not saying that you should be miserable. What I am saying is that you have to come to understanding that this is business. And whether you think that you're conducting business, you doing XYZ task or performing XYZ skill, you are a business yourself. Doesn't matter if you're taking a pallet jack from one end of the building to another end. They hired you to do that. Therefore, this is a business transaction. When you sign your social security number and name onto this piece of paper and they select you to do this, that is they said they want to do business with you. The mindset is not I'm an employee and you are the employer. It is you chose me to do business with. This is a partnership. But if you don't know or think that you have negotiating power, then you're going to get the short end of the stick. You may not have very much leverage, but you need to know what you're worth when you walk into any situation. Otherwise, you will out leverage yourself and get taken for far more than what you're given. You know, before I left Macy's when I was in Chicago, right? Shout out to Marshall Fields. But when I was on the sales floor, we had this report that you can go and you can see how many sales that you made over the course of time, over the course of a year. I went and I looked at what my salary was at that time toward the end of the year. And I looked at seeing what I sold for them. And I thought it was astonishing the fact that what I sold for them was over $150,000 in merchandise, just rung up under my number. Now you have to understand, people didn't just come, like all these sales wasn't just they knew what they wanted, they came and they bought it. Like, no, I had to have product knowledge. I had to be able to actually sell them, take them in the fitting room, reassure them, make them feel like they looked good in what they had. I had to do actual work with these customers to get them from the moment they walked in the door to the moment they walked out with that bag feeling happy about their sale. So when you look at that and you say to yourself, well, man, I really only made $15,000 that year. It dawned on you like, wait a minute, I really made 10%. I think it was probably like 9 or 8% when I tallied out all the numbers. Like 8.9% of what I sold for them. And that was the first breakthrough that I had to where it was just like, I could have been somebody's independent contractor. Like I've been selling Levi's, like over 75% of those sales that I made were Levi's. I was the Levi's specialist for the station. So I could have been just independently selling Levi's for myself and racked in a way crazier commission with the product knowledge that I had. And I sold myself for cheap to do it through the third party vendor known as Macy's. Shot myself in the foot. Didn't even know it.
And a lot of people don't.
Some people will never realize that they don't understand the value that they bring to the company, that your expertise on being able to wow a customer, being able to explain things to a customer, being able to take them into the fitting room and say, hey, this is this premium denim that's going to cost you $300. Yeah, this is what everybody's coming in, but man, try this Levi on and try this in comparison. And I guarantee you, after a couple of washes, once you break these things in, man, you're going to be happy with this purchase. Once they expand, cold water wash, hang, dry them, don't dry clean them, you don't need to. Do it this way, do it this way. They come back like 2-3 weeks later, like, yo, man, let me get like 4 or 5 more pairs of those. Because what I was going to pay for that one pair of jeans, you just sold me on this one pair of jeans, man. I'm going to spend the same money I was going to spend on them, but I'm going to get a whole surplus of those.
Yep.
And you doing that because of my work, because of what I did, because you could have just came in there, looked around, bought that $300 pair of jeans and left.
And that product knowledge behind it, you know what I'm saying? Like breaking down, like, wash them like this, dry them like that. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that matters and that goes a long way. And to be able to recognize that and see that, and a lot of people don't go check and see how much money they actually made for the company, unless they doing like some type of competition or whatever, but just on a regular basis. Where am I at?
Well,
And
really,
they translate that into doing it for themselves.
Well, really, it was a thing that was intended for commission salespeople to know what percentage of their sales they were getting. I remember I sold a $35,000 fur coat over the phone for some lady in New York. It was the last one in the nation. And me and her talked over the phone. I ran all the way around the building and I sold that coat. $35,000. Guess how much commission I made off that sale?
Well, like 20%.
Nothing, because I wasn't a commission sales employee.
Mm.
But nobody told me that before I did the transaction. Otherwise, I would have went to my man who was over in Kenneth Cole and told him, "Yo, get that 3% off this 35,000. Break bread with me, and we good." So once you get that check, hit me off for like 100. You keep the rest. I already did all the hard work, but make sure we collect something off of
Yeah,
it.
you just got to close.
I didn't get a cent. I'm talking about I worked on that sale for 2 days. That lady had my cell phone number. She was adamant about getting her husband that coat. $35,000 fur. And Chicago State Street was the only one in the nation with the size that she needed. And I conducted the sale and I didn't get a dime for it. I got my regular sales pay for that coat.
You got commission on that. You got commission on. I'm gonna tell you what you gain. You gain knowledge and understanding out of that. You gain perspective out of that.
Oh, baby, did I ever?
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, baby, did I ever?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was big.
Mm-hmm.
So in a nutshell, I just want to say it like this, right? Because I don't want to drag this on too much longer than it has to be. I just want to put things out here and put them into perspective and help people understand something very essential, okay? A job is a job. You're going to have multiple jobs. All this loyalty that you give to your job, I'm not telling anybody you don't go to work if you have to go work a job to go and work a job. I'm not telling you don't do a good job when you're there. Have honor and respect for what you do. Not because of who they are, but because of who you are. Have some self-respect to not go into a place and do a shoddy job. Period. I don't care how you feel about the place. Give it your best effort.
Mm-hmm. Because you never know who watching. You never know who's finna follow up behind you. Any of that. Like today, I had this real big job putting in these cameras at a storage facility, and I just happened to just start walking the property, taking a look at the lines, and I'm like, you know what, them lines definitely could have been ran a little bit better. And I spent another extra hour just driving on the lift, making sure that all the lines was proper. You know what I'm saying? It's a brand new facility. This is a brand new install. It needs to look brand new. Who wants it sloppy?
Correct.
So when you go in, give it all you got. 110%.
So even with that much, also take into consideration the fact that it's not about what you like. It's not about what you care about. It's about understanding your worth and your self-value. Do what you have to do, but spend every waking moment that you're not there focused on what your long-term end game is. Make sure that whatever you sign yourself up for, that you respect it, that it's according to your game plan. And when you see the weather patterns changes, dress for the weather. What that mean? When you start noticing things starting to change up and you noticing the culture starting to change and things are starting to go in a way that you are not comfortable with, be prepared. Always stay sharpening your sword, stay getting your skills in order, stay putting yourself into a place where you're always employable, always coachable, always moldable, always teachable, always wanting to learn. You're a sponge constantly, and put yourself in a position where you can move around when you need to, whether it's within that company or whether it's outside of that company, whether you take what you learned from that company and you apply it to someplace outside, whether you decide you want to do your own thing or whether you decide that you just want to go to another job, but start tailoring your life to where you want to be and stop just
Build,
living day by day.
build options, create options for yourself.
Happiest you will ever be is when you know that you're where you are because you choose to be, not because you have to be.
Them ribs are saucy, bro.
All right, guys, that's our time, man. I done talked enough to y'all to talk y'all ears off. But y'all know what it is, man. This is Phil Jones, Mike Jones, however you guys know me personally and professionally. And I am the host of the Extraordinary Man podcast. You guys know who this is on the other side of me, the most intellectualist, the most extraordinariest, the most hyper activist, the most active hyperist, the greatest of all time when it comes down to anything electrical, anything surgical. He's like the neurosurgeon for all electrical wiring everywhere, son. Like he can dissect a camera down into 3 different pieces and rebuild it back to no, all right, I'm joshing y'all. Y'all know who it is, man. State your name.
Midas, man. Make sure y'all put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right, y'all. That's our time. Thank you for rocking out with us yet once again. Catch us on Friday. Peace.